A new Australian film is releasing in cinemas across Australia November 16th, a film called A Savage Christmas. And it certainly will be a savage Christmas. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the writer-director of the film, Madeleine Dyer. Madeleine, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here, Peter. Great.
Good to talk to you in this very funny film, which has something to offend everyone, I thought, but which is great. I think that's a great Christmas film. And Savage, of course, referring to the name of the family, but of course has a double meaning. What was the inspiration
Yes.
behind writing and directing this film?
Oh, goodness. I mean, look, like any indie film, it's taken quite the time to get up and happening, and been through many incarnations. And this particular piece was originally a play. And so my co-writer, Dan Mulvihill, and myself at the time were developing it for stage. And this would have been in Melbourne back in 2015 or something. But what we always wanted to do was have this really incredible, unique ensemble piece and explore that kind of domestic within a family unit, and the memory and sense of identity within a family unit as well, and that dynamic. So that was kind of like what was inspiring us in terms of a key concept or idea. And then, of course, as I say, years and years pass, it kind of goes on the back burner, it resurrects itself. And then a few years ago, we thought, oh, let's realize this is a screenplay. This is kind of more in line with where we're heading and what we want to do. And then, of course, we're able to get a writer's room on it and some support from, the local government, Queensland, and then Screen Australia. So we're able to kind of get some really good minds on it, crack it back open, which is always scary as writers to experience. But we went through that process and got our co-writer Max on board as well. And he was able to offer up his queer experience. So it took a whole different kind of shape from then on in, and it became what it is now. So what a journey.
What a
I'm going to
journey.
say. But yeah, at the key of it, at the heart of it, I guess it's yeah, that's it.
Wow. Well, congratulations on persevering and taking that stage play into a screenplay. And yes, I noticed Max Inhafer, who plays Kane in the film, is part of the writing team and so on. And of course, transgender is one of the key aspects of the themes of the film, and the traditional family coping with that or not, and so on.
That's right. Yeah. We were kind of we always had a queer character, and obviously with Max's input and his own journey and his own family experiences, we were able to infuse it. And I mean, whether it's about a transition story or not, it's about, we can distill it down to that basic human need to want to grow and better ourselves and change, and want to be recognized for that in whatever realm that looks like. And then, of course, that whole idea that family normally get together and put you back in the box from years and years and years ago, and it's like, I'm not that person anymore. So yeah, it was a cool way into that, I think, through our protagonist being Davina, a trans chick.
Yeah. Oh, well done on that. I found that really well done, and the whole notion of a Christmas dinner amongst a family, dysfunctional family. Everyone's got a different agenda and issues and so on. It's a familiar trope, but you put a really particular Australian spin on it.
I'm glad you thought that. Yeah, very happy to hear that. And I'm sure you could see that we retained a lot of that theatricality, of course, as well. And we really lent into that and went, look, we're not going to apologize for that, and the bones of what this project originally was. So, hence why we've got these 10-minute table scenes that really do erupt into quite the bit of chaos, and they really know how to escalate. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Savage.
I was going to say the perfect Christmas film, but
Funky and fighty and yeah, all of the things. Well, again, I guess, we have so many family friendly Chrissy films, of course, and that's great. but I was always really taken with the idea of a bit of a Bad Santa-esque or something that just kind of is made more for an adult audience, and all of our wounded inner children that need to need to be heard as well.
And absolutely. And I must talk to you about casting, because apart from Max, is it Tay Ravenau who plays
Thea.
Thea, I'm sorry, Thea Ravenau,
Yeah,
who,
yes, yes.
who is so good and is an Indigenous actress, I gather.
Yes, yes. It was, I mean, we were just really hoping with this kind of nationwide casting call out that we did with Chicken and Chips, and they are an incredible casting agency, and they really go as far wide as they can and try and find the untapped gems, which I love. And they've got such a diverse focus and an inclusive focus. So yeah, we were so lucky, because as soon as I saw Thea's tape, I was like, oh my God, it's her. It's all clicking in. It's all making sense. And then further to that, being able to talk to Thea, she's just out of drama school at QUT, and it was going to be such an important role to collaborate with her on and make sure that she had that autonomy and that it felt like a genuine experience of hers as well, to a point. So she just has such incredible generosity of spirit, and just met us there and was just instantly part of the family. So that was like a really special moment to find her,
Yes. Oh, well done, because she's so good in the role. It's it's great.
And she was so taken, and I'm glad, because like she was like, I'm so glad this isn't just your typical worthy coming out story. Davina's got her faults too. She's trying, she's hurting. And there's no one's perfect in any of the kind of, I guess, ways they want to kind of realize themselves, and we've all got to hold space for the subjectivity issues there as well. And so I guess that's why all the other families' voices within her experience are heard, and vice versa. Yeah.
Very good indeed. No, it makes the whole film very enjoyable. And I must commend you on the rest of the cast: Helen Thomas and Ryan Morgan, David Roberts. And I must mention Gary Sweet, who comes along to commit mayhem to the family.
The Sweet. Yes. Good old Gazza was free. I was like, thank you. We've been mates for a few years, and he's I mean, I think that was one of the biggest things as well, like with this cast. It was like, not only did we want to have some incredibly established actors, and particularly ones with that theatrical background as well, that had that joy of discovery and were willing to kind of workshop things on their feet a bit, and also help bring our emerging actors through. But and it's one thing to be incredibly talented and fit the role and be, clicking into that, but it's another thing to have, like I say, that generosity of spirit. I kind of kept harking back to that. I needed actors to know what they were in for and be willing to lean into that and really kind of, I guess, be there for each other in that true ensemble fashion. And they were all like that. It was incredible.
Again, really, really well done. And then you surprised me, because then later in the film, Rachel Griffiths appears.
I know. What are the odds of that? I love that she got to show her comedy chops, which she has in spades as well. And again, it was one of those things that was like, she, working with her on Ride Like a Girl, being her director attachment for a good 5 months or so. This was, years ago now, but we really established a great working relationship, and she was always so keen to support me in any way she could when it came to my time to direct something. And so it was a bit of a call up, like, Rach, you're free? Do you reckon you could fly up for a couple of days and have a bit of a laugh? And yeah, it was wonderful to have her there as well.
Excellent stuff. And then apart from her, did you do lots of rehearsal or spend time with the cast workshopping the screenplay, or was it more organic, or how did it all work?
Well, look, I mean, my way is quite organic, and I do think that until you're in the space with your actors, it's really hard to end game things too much. And the benefit of reading a script out loud, I mean, again, you want to try and do that through different points of writing, but normally it only really happens when you get to do a read through and all the cast are together, and that's normally quite late in the game. And then you hear the words and you're like, oh, that bumped me, or that doesn't quite make sense. Ugh. And so there was a lot of that. And because obviously time and, resources weren't really our friend with this kind of first indie foray, we were kind of doing things on the day, dare I say. So, and for the most part, it was fine. And it's just what you kind of have to do to make it feel right. It will not even feel right, feel real. I think that's the other thing I kept saying to anyone, you know, we don't need to get this right, you know, just make sure it's feeling real to you, however that sounds, whatever those words are. As long as we're kind of honoring the ideas and the kind of major story beats, we're okay, we're hunky-dory. So it was a bit of that. I mean, there were a few things where it was like, oh, okay, we really do need to address this slight plot hole, which then unravels this part, and then the domino effect of that means that this character can't. And so again, we all just had to be hands on deck. Just, yeah, it was good though. It was really exciting to be in that space. And again, as I say, everyone was just ready to go. And I think that theatrical background for a lot of our actors, you know, really helped the process as well.
Yes, certainly did. And yes, it all worked very well, which I'm very pleased to say. Tell me about location, which the house you found, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that was, oh, excuse me, I just hit the table, but that was really lucky in a sense, because we chose to shoot, God knows why. I mean, I do know why, we didn't have really any other choice, but shooting in summer in Queensland, what a task, what an undertaking. But of course, just during the Christmas holidays and after, it was like, oh God, all these McMansions and big grandiose houses that we'd want to rent out, they're all rented already for families on holiday. Like, what are we going to do? And we were very lucky to find this incredibly, like, yeah, wonderful estate out in Sanford, Mount Sampson, I think they call it, in the outskirts of Brisbane. And so basically the house was two heritage listed Queenslanders, and we had to marry the two. So it was a little bit of geographical kind of configuration in the brain. And we actually there was a huge room with just, I don't know, 20 beds in there. It looked like a school camp kind of room in one of the houses. And so we had to create our own wall and kind of section it off and do a few little bits and pieces to make it feel like it was part of the other hero house. But again, it was such a lucky find. We had so much support. We could have a lot of the cast and crew stay on location as well, which just added to that family element. I was in the bushman's cottage getting, you know, green tree frogs jumping on me every night, and huntsman's in my bath towels. You know, it was great. But no, it was really, and you know, again, I always know as well from what we've done so far, it's like a location will start to offer up its own form of character, and that will also dictate some of the story. And so we had to lean into a more heritage listed kind of property that maybe Brenda, our matriarch, was really into, because she's old school and she appreciates, you know, things with character and a life, and instead of a more polished McMansion, for instance, you know, on the Gold Coast. So we were able to kind of infuse a bit of the location back into the script as well, to validate what it was offering us as well.
Well done on that. It all has come together really well. Well, the film is releasing November 16th nationally, and that's always a task, getting a distributor, getting it out there into cinemas, all that sort of thing.
Yes, it is a task. And again, I mean, until you go through it and understand the trajectory from start to finish, you don't really understand just exactly what it takes, and just how this ongoing gauntlet of work just it's quite relentless in a sense. But we have been very lucky with Bonsai Films on and Odin's Eye, and you know, we've been lucky to be able to secure some really good cinemas nationally, and it's looking good for a streamer in the second window. And so yeah, it's all coming up pretty nicely for us, and it'll be nice as well to just find more of a niche audience as it's out. And I guess we have a few Christmases to find that in the coming years. Hopefully it's something people kind of stumble upon in the future, if it's not this time around, or they return to it and watch it again and go, oh, I didn't see that, or I feel a bit differently about this now, or, you know, how we get with our Christmas film. So we'll see, but it's good. It's exciting.
Well, it's nice to see a comedy being released, and this one hits the mark, and with a wonderful collection of characters. So well done on that.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. I'm glad you had a chuckle. We got to have a couple of previews. We were at Cinefest, and then we had Biff just more recently, which was a bit of a homecoming premiere, and packed that out. And again, it was so lovely to hear the audience really respond and take the film as it was intended. Obviously, it's meant to be funny, but it really did have an emotional impact as well for many people. So that was, it was very heartening, and hopefully that continues.
Oh, it should. I think it's a perfect film for the Christmas New Year season, and now being released where people are already planning their Christmas. So very good.
This is it. And I feel like as well, like it's always one of those things that people will either go there and kind of resonate with a character and go, oh my God, this is so like me, or this is so like so-and-so, or this is like my family. Oh my God, I feel less alone about this whole shabam. Or it will be, oh my goodness, thank God our family is not like them. I can breathe a sigh of relief. I can go to Christmas this year and just take a load off,
Absolutely, and a lovely film for the holiday period. Two quick things I wanted to quickly address, Madeleine. I know you've written and directed and been involved in directing a number of other things, Sexy Herpes, which stood out, and Colin from Account.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. I could just see that as the next Christmas release. But also... you directed an episode of Colin from Accounts, which was a wonderful miniseries, and you've done short films and so on. How do you decide what you get involved with?
I love that question. And I think it's so important. And I know at least in Australia, we've got a relatively cottage industry, and it's, we kind of jump from project to project if we're lucky, and it's a bit boom or bust. And especially the last few years, it's been very trying for most of us. It's easy to not say no to things. It's just jump on the next thing you're given and go, yeah, cool. That'll be cool. I'll be able to pay the bills. And, I think this is all right. But for me, I have really tried to go the long way a bit, in the sense of creating my own work, trying to really harness my creative voice and what that looks like, and also trying to honor, I guess, a manifesto of sorts that I tend to have, which has to normally be inclusive or diverse, or representing in some way voices that need to be seen or heard for whatever's going on in our current, I guess, more social climate. So that's what jazzes me often. And I do want to try and keep, tapping into that and having my finger on the pulse with projects that are like that for me. So I like to kind of build that community and give opportunities to people, particularly Max, for instance. Like, he had never been on set. He's very creative. He's had this incredible background in advertising, and to see him, co-write with us for a couple of years and flourish as an actor, that for me is something that it's why I kind of want to keep getting out of bed, I guess, and doing these things. So that's probably the long version of, yes, I try and do something socially poignant if I can.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great to hear. And finally, are you planning something else at the moment?
Well, I'm currently in Canberra for the first time ever. Didn't see myself in the ISU2, but here I am, and I'm working on an awesome BBC comedy called Austen, and it is starring Michael Theo, who was on Love on the Spectrum, an incredible neurodiverse actor we've got, and we've got Sally Phillips and Ben Miller coming over from the UK. So it's an incredibly wholesome, heartwarming comedy. So I'm doing that at the moment, and then I'm dipping my toes back into Colin season 2. And then, which is so cool, just being able to be back on set with the crew. And then it's a road movie that I've got in the works at the moment with my co-writer Dan Mulverhill, and that's kind of set in Townsville and goes all the way up into the deep north of Queensland, and it's a bit of a Thelma and Louise version 3.0 or something, slightly removed, but it's that kind of vibe. So that's probably the next thing I'd be doing that I've probably had a hand of writing and creating in the next year or so, if we're lucky.
Okay, what an interesting array of projects and so on. So great to hear. We're speaking to Madeleine Dyer, who's the writer and director of A Savage Christmas, which releases from November 16th. Thank you so much for talking with me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Take care.